They are little. They are ponies. They are mine. Let us have a speculative reimagining of My Little Pony. Hey everyone! My Little Pony is one of those long-running cartoon and toy franchises that got really popular some years ago. I wouldn't know why. I was watching serious, mature TV. Nonetheless, they deserve an episode, and we're going to reimagine them using Spec Evo. Please consider liking, hyping and subscribing to get this video saddled up. And now, without further ado, let's get started. It's curious how the most unassuming organisms often end up in the spotlight, causing an absolute craze around their existence. Some time ago, in the 2010s, tiny horses became all the rage, and their cute appearance certainly gives a good reason for that being the case. These ponies are not to be confused with the other animal commonly known by that name. While the latter are simply a variant of the horse, Equus ferus cavallus, little ponies belong to their own genus, Leptohippus. All modern Leptohippus are characterized by the presence of a scent gland located near the hip, quite important in signaling other members of their species regarding their own health status and mating availability. This is an incredibly important function in these animals, as they are highly social, depending on their numbers both for safety and well-being, becoming severely stressed in isolation. You could say that friendship is, well, very important for them. In domesticated species, this scent gland has become further exaggerated, becoming brighter and more visible as the domestication process drove up expression of genes related to socialization and group behavior. These glands, nicknamed cutie marks, present a wide variety of shapes and colors, which humans interpret as different objects due to pareidolia, the imposition of meaningful interpretations on vague stimuli. As one may infer from their vastly different anatomies, these animals are not a single species, but belong to three different species of the aforementioned genus, domesticated independently of each other by humans. The first of these species is the earth or common pony, Leptohippus vulgaris, the one where we can most easily study the basic characteristics of domesticated members of the genus, those shared by the rest of the species we will see today. The wild ancestors of earth ponies are those closest to other equids both in anatomy and behavior, especially to horses, owing to them evolving in a similar grassland environment. While wild ponies often have a drab coloration that helps them hide from predators, domesticated ones present a wide diversity of colors, in many cases having iridescent, pastel-colored fur, similar to that of golden moles, which is very attractive to humans. While some domesticated populations retain and even exaggerate their horse-like features, in most of them these are obscured by the process of domestication, which caused them to become increasingly neotenic, losing their original horse-like anatomy in favor of bigger, much more rounded heads and shorter muscles. Also resulting from this process, certain physiological features of these equines were further altered, as shown by the fact that domesticated species present an exceedingly short gestation period, resulting in foals with rounder heads and stubbier limbs than those of other equids, characteristic of earlier developmental stages. A particular feature that has arisen from the neoteny and shorter gestation periods present in all pony species is the retention of the eponychium, the soft layer of tissue that covers the hooves of newborn foals. It's kind of gross, so you might want to look away now. Okay, you may look again. Since these equids were not domesticated to be ridden or as draft animals, but as pets, the retention of this tissue was not an impediment, but in fact aided in the purpose of making them seem cuter, and so this trait was reinforced across generations. Contrary to pop culture depictions, this soft tissue does not allow them to hold things as if they had hands, owing to the fact they still lack fingers, or anything like them. This misconception is tied to the way equines from this genus are known to occasionally stand on their hind limbs and use their hooves to browse, a rarity on other extant equids, but possible on Leptohippus due to their smaller sizes. Let us now move on to Pegasus and unicorn ponies, unrelated to the famous flying horse or wild unicorn species, but named after them due to their superficial similarities. Unicorn ponies, Leptohippus monoceros, evolved in forests and developed a bony protrusion on their head, containing auxiliary scent glands used both for display and self-defense. They will also use this horn to scratch the bark of trees while releasing this scent to mark their territory. As this species was domesticated, many different breeds were developed, some characterized by the production of soap-like, sweet-smelling secretions, or by reflective fibers on their horn and fur that make them shine under the light, or even breathtaking, translucent horns. Some were bred to be more empathetic pets, or to be extra fast for sports-loving owners. Unfortunately, this domestication process also increased the prevalence of some issues present in wild populations, including an exaggeration of their alert behavior, turning it into full-on anxiety, or making some breeds even gassier than would be normal for equids. In the case of Pegasus ponies, Leptohippus pseudoptera, these similarities developed from a similar lifestyle, as they evolved in mountainous areas where they developed a gliding flap of skin between their anterior and posterior legs, which helps them reduce their speed should they fall while jumping among the rocks, thus preventing them from being injured. As they adapted to this lifestyle, this flap gained support from a bone spur developing from the ribs, a tumorous growth that evolved similarly to deer's antlers. Unlike antlers, however, these bone spurs are not deciduous. Domestic L. pseudoptera retain this trait, exaggerated due to their domestication, but it is not any more functional than that seen in wild populations. With our understanding of these three basic breeds deepened, let us now refer to alicorns. As the name may indicate, this is a result of hybridization of winged and unicorn breeds, and as such shows a combination of their traits, two membranous wing-like structures and a horn. Positive heterosis born from the combination of the parental traits has led to alicorns being far bigger and more robust than even their wild relatives, presenting a certain degree of gigantism that makes them look more similar to horses than other domestic ponies. Since the desired features in alicorns are heavily tied to the X chromosome, most individuals that present these features are female, with the few male alicorns being a result of genetic mosaicism and, generally, sterile, similar to the phenomenon observed in calico cats. Unfortunately, this degree of hybridization between already inbred populations led to alicorns presenting a diversity of health issues, including hoof inflammation, colics, and breathing problems. These health issues make the breed extremely rare, and the few people capable of affording an alicorn will invest huge amounts of time and resources in keeping them healthy, unnaturally expanding their lifespan by any means necessary. Paradoxically, despite their health issues, well-kept and cared for alicorns can end up outliving many of their healthier relatives. This higher maintenance and cost, tied to their health issues and larger size, was in fact a limitant for the extent to which all of these ponies could be adopted, unlike what happened to Forbis. It is perhaps due to these limitations that the pony craze endured over other pet fads, with many aficionados still perduring until this day. And that's it for Speculative Biology look into My Little Ponies. So for this take on the episode, as commissioned by Alec Foisey, we wanted to adapt the ponies into something grounded, making them real animals that resembled the toy and cartoon versions. With these conces, their biological differences, such as having wings or a horn, were best explained with them being different species, not stretching too much the reach of the anatomical variation within a single species, but them coming from the same genus allowed us to keep them quite related to one another, close enough to be capable of breeding to give place to mixed forms, like the alicorns. This also meant adapting the magical properties of many of these ponies into more natural, biology-based features, especially things that wouldn't be too dangerous or too serious for a domesticated species to have. Yeah, I know, but giving everything magic gets old after a while. Not everything can have omega particles in it. So I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Now, I know a lot of people wanted a more canon-accurate version of this, given the suggestions for looking into their culture and civilization, and even their magic. So maybe someday we'd do something like that, if I find a nice angle to go with. Before we go, I'd like to thank everyone who asked to see these tiny ungulates in some way, shape or form. We had this one, and I hope you enjoyed it. And also, thank you to our researchers and research associates who support us through Patreon and YouTube memberships. And you can join them too if you'd like to support and help us keep making these videos, see all of our creatures and videos ahead of time, and help mold them into shape. Or you can also like, subscribe, or write a comment telling me any type of creature you would like me to give the spec Evo treatment in the show. Any of those really help the channel a lot. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time on the Speculative Wildlife Research Center.
Do you think we'll ever see her again?
I'm sure we will, honey. I'm sure we will.